Hello everyone and welcome to this video. This lecture will be a view in depth about the grids tool in S-FRAME. This grids works as a visual help for modeling, and as you can see here, this is the general window about the grid definitions. Here we have the grids options, the grid type, grid origin and orientation. There's a lot of things can be set up, and we are going to review into the different options here, and I'll show you how this works. Before that, it's important to know that there's two, let's say, main types of grids here in S-FRAME. It is the Cartesian grid and the cylindrical grid. The Cartesian grid being in the left side of your screen. As you can see here, this is a more common shape that we use in the daily basis. And in the right side, it's a cylindrical grid. It's used in some special cases. It's not very common use, but we're also going to take a look into how this works. With that being said, we can directly jump into S-FRAME. As you can see here, I have my S-FRAME open. It's completely empty. And for start defining the grids, we have two options. We can go to the geometry window in the elevation tool and right click, and it will open the grid definitions window. Or we also can just click here when it says edit grids, and this will open. So the grids can be very useful if we want to define a model totally from scratch. As you can see, we don't have anything in the model as mentioned before. And we can start defining the first, let's say, geometry or the starting geometry of our model. Right now, I have 4 preset grids. It's a base grid. You can see the spacing is for 1 meter each and in 10, let's say, lines in each direction on the x-axis in the positive and direction, and it also happens with the y-axis. We have a grid of 5 meters spacing, we have 1 foot spacing and 10 foot spacing. These are the preloaded grids. In case you don't see these grids when you open your grids window, you can go directly here in open, and here you can select the dev grid and just click in open, and this will be loaded. With this, we have the base grid. As you can see, I can select this grid and I have these different options shown before. First one being the display grid. We have this already checked, so this means the grids is going to be displayed, but if I unchecked, everything just completely gone. So I'm just let it like this. You can see there is nothing in the screen. I can go again to the grids and I can click display grid, click OK, and you can see now this is our grid. The base grid in particular has these different labels of the different axes, and we can change them if we wanted to. Maybe just adding a different letter or something like that. Or we can swap labels. For example, if I click here, now this got changed. Getting back to normal. And before continuing, I'd like to make clear a couple of things, and that is that the base grid is pretty different from the other grids. Let's refer to these other grids as construction grids. These construction grids are acquainted with the grids from previous versions of S-FRAME. The base grids can display labels, as shown, but it is also important to mention that these grids can only be displayed in the global XY plane. You can rotate them with the user coordinate system, and we'll see how to rotate the construction grids later in this lecture. And lastly, the base grids can be combined with other base grids by creating subgrids, and this can be done with the construction grids. Once I explain all of this, we can continue, and we may want to work with a grid completely from scratch, completely from zero. So if that's the case, we can just select this computer icon, right click, and new grid set. So we're going to start to defining everything related to the grids. First of all, we can define a grid of 2 meters per 2 meters of spacing. So I'm going to put like this. And now we can start defining here some different parameters. And say I wanted 5 lines, grid lines in the x-axis. with 2 meter spacing, and I want 5 grid lines in 2 meter spacing. So as you can see now, this grid got defined. I can click OK, and I can see this visualized. So there is something important to note here. There is the red diagram indicates the global coordinate system, and this will be very important. The grids are being defined based in the position of the global coordinate system. If we have a user coordinate system, these grids are going to go with this particular or custom coordinate system. So now that we have defined this, we can start defining some members. Maybe I can go to the member definition tool. I can start clicking to defining some members. The intersection in the grid lines works like imaginary nodes. Let's say I want to define a member over here. If I click, nothing is happening. I can define anything, but if I click in the intersections, the members can be defined. And it also works with the one join method. Let's say I want to define a column. I go for the Z positive, maybe 5 meters. I click OK. And now I click in one of the intersections and the new column is defined. Maybe this isn't the shape you are interested in. Maybe you want something in the negative part of the x-axis and the negative part of the y-axis. To the grids, and we can define another 5 of these grid lines, and in the negative direction. As you can see, this got defined. Now we can also work with these grids. But we can see here there's some blank spaces. This can be changed if we go again to our grids, and we can define maybe one at 0 meters and one at 0 meters. So we can see everything is filled up now. And this is how you quickly define some grid sets.